Motivation is temporary. Discipline is reliable and consistent. That's the truth most people don't want to accept because motivation feels good. No, it's good, it's exciting, it's powerful, it's emotional. It gives you that spark, that rush, that feeling like you can conquer everything in front of you. But that feeling doesn't stay. It fades as quickly as it comes. One minute you're fired up, shouting that you're going to change your life. And the next morning you wake up tired, irritated, stressed, or distracted. Suddenly that fire isn't there anymore. Motivation is like a visitor. It comes and goes whenever it wants. You can't depend on a visitor to build your life. But discipline is like a roommate. It stays, it commits. It shows up every single day no matter what your mood is doing. People keep waiting for motivation to push them. But motivation is not a machine. It's not designed to stay consistent. It reacts to your environment, your mood, the weather, people around you, your energy levels. One bad day can make your motivation disappear. One small failure can shut it down. If your success depends on something so unstable, how can you expect to achieve anything great? You can't build a championship lifestyle on something that behaves like the wind, blowing one way today and another way tomorrow. This is why so many people start strong and finish nowhere. They had the motivation, but they didn't have the discipline to continue when the feeling was gone. Discipline is different. Discipline is a choice over and over again. Discipline is doing the work even when the excitement is gone. Discipline is waking up at 5 a.m. even when you slept terribly. Discipline is studying even when you don't feel smart. Discipline is training even when your body aches. Discipline is saving money even when you want to spend. Discipline is keeping your word to yourself even when it would be easier to quit. Discipline doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't need you to be in a good mood. Discipline is built on commitment, not emotion. When you watch successful people, athletes, business leaders, creators, students who rise to the top, it's not because they were motivated every day. It's because they built a routine and stuck to it. Their success is predictable because their actions are consistent. They don't show up only on the days they feel good. They show up on the days they feel terrible, the days they feel stressed, the days they feel pressure, the days when everything in them wants to stop. They don't wait for inspiration. They operate from discipline. That's what makes them unstoppable. Whoa. Reason discipline is so powerful is because it creates momentum. Motivation gives you a jump, a push, a spark, but discipline builds movement. When you repeat an action long enough, it becomes automatic. It becomes part of your identity. You no longer ask yourself if you will feel like it. You just do it because it's who you are now. That's why disciplined people achieve more with less effort. Because the hardest part, the internal fight, is gone. They don't negotiate with themselves. They don't talk themselves out of their goals. They follow the plan even when everything tells them not to. Discipline also builds trust in yourself. When you say you're going to wake up early and you actually do it, you build trust. When you say you're going to train and you train, you build trust. When you say you're going to work on your dreams and you follow through, you build trust. That self-trust becomes confidence, and that confidence becomes power. Most people lack confidence not because they aren't talented, but because they keep breaking promises to themselves. They rely on motivation to carry them forward, and when the motivation leaves, they fall apart. Discipline removes that weakness. It allows you to prove to yourself every single day that you're capable and committed. Another thing discipline does is protect you from the distractions and temptations that destroy most people. When you're disciplined, you're focused, you know what matters and what doesn't. You're not pulled away by entertainment, excuses, comfort, or negativity. You have a mission, you have a direction, you have a standard for your life. Motivation won't give you that. Motivation might inspire you for a moment, but discipline gives you clarity over time. Every day you choose discipline, you strengthen your mind, your habits, your willpower, and your ability to handle challenges. Discipline is also reliable because it does not depend on external circumstances. You don't need someone to hype you up. You don't need a perfect environment. You don't need the right timing. You just need to decide and follow through. Discipline is internal. It comes from your choices, your consistency, and your commitment to becoming better. You can develop discipline anywhere, in your room, in your job, in your school, on the field, in the gym. Success comes from habits and routines, not feelings. Most people live their lives reacting to whatever emotion shows up that day. They wake up feeling tired, so they skip the workout. They feel unmotivated, so they put off studying. They feel stressed, so they avoid responsibilities. They allow their entire future to be shaped by whatever mood they happen to be in at the moment. But emotions are temporary, unpredictable, and unstable. You can't build something permanent on something that changes every few hours. Habits and routines are different. Habits are actions you repeat often enough that they become automatic. Routines are structures you create to protect your progress. Together, they create a foundation so strong that even your worst day can't break it. When you look at people who achieve consistent success, athletes, entrepreneurs, scholars, creators, you'll find that they don't rely on inspiration to guide their behavior. They rely on systems. They build daily routines that force them to improve whether they feel like it or not. They wake up, they follow their plan, they execute their tasks. It's not glamorous, and it's not always exciting, but it's powerful because it compounds over time. A daily habit done consistently beats a random burst of inspiration every single time. Think about it like this. If you study for 20 minutes every day, you will learn more over a year than someone who studies for 5 hours only when they feel motivated. If you train consistently 3 or 4 times a week, you will change your body more effectively than someone who goes to the gym only when the mood strikes. If you save a small amount of money every month, you will create real financial stability, while someone who tries to save only when they feel responsible will stay stuck. Habits turn effort into momentum, and momentum turns into mastery. The problem is that many people want the results without adopting the routine that create those results. They want the outcome, but they aren't willing to repeat the process. They want to be fit, but don't want to commit to the routine of training. They want to be successful, but don't want the routine of early mornings, deep focus, or uncomfortable discipline. They want to be knowledgeable, but don't want the routine of reading, studying, or practicing. Feelings can push you to start something, but habits are what allow you to become someone capable of finishing. Habits also protect you from the inconsistency that emotions bring. When you build a strong routine, your actions stop depending on how you feel. The moment your behavior is no longer controlled by your mood, you become dangerous in the best way. You become steady, stable, and dependable. You build a life where progress is inevitable because your routine forces you to improve. This is why champions talk about trusting the process. They understand that success is not one giant leap. It's thousands of small steps taken with discipline. Another powerful truth about habits is that they reshape your identity. When you consistently practice something, your mind starts to see it as part of who you are. If you write every morning, you begin to see yourself as a writer. If you train every day, you begin to see yourself as an athlete. If you study consistently, you begin to see yourself as a disciplined student. Your habits tell your brain who you are becoming. Over time, your identity shifts. And when your identity shifts, your life shifts with it. People fail not because their goals were impossible, but because they never built the routines to support their new identity. Habits also free you from the exhausting cycle of motivation highs and lows. When your actions depend on feelings, you will forever be stuck starting over. You'll have weeks where you're strong and weeks where you're weak. You'll have days where you excel and days where you fall apart. But when your actions depend on your routine, you eliminate that emotional chaos. You don't have to ask yourself whether you feel like doing the work. The routine decides for you. Your job is simply to follow it. That consistency makes success feel almost predictable. Even the greatest talents rely on habits more than inspiration. A singer with natural ability still practices daily. A writer with genius ideas still writes every day. A gifted athlete still follows a training routine. Talent might give you an advantage, but habits decide whether you keep that advantage or waste it. Routines turn potential into achievement. They transform raw talent into real results. What makes habits so powerful is that they accumulate. One day of effort changes nothing. 1 week of effort changes little. But 1 year of consistent habits can transform your entire life. The person who reads 10 pages a day ends the year with knowledge that can shift their mindset. The person who works on their craft daily ends the year with skills that others will envy. True growth happens on the days you don't want to show up. It doesn't happen during the moments when everything is going your way. When you feel energetic, motivated, and excited about the work. Anybody can show up on those days. Anybody can perform when life feels easy. But real growth, the kind that transforms you, stretches you, elevates you, and builds the person you're trying to become, happens when you feel tired, overwhelmed, discouraged, or unmotivated, yet you still choose to keep going. The days you don't want to show up are the days that shape your future because they test who you really are beneath the surface. Most people wait for perfect conditions before they take action. They wait for the right mood, the right energy, the right level of inspiration. But that mindset traps them because those perfect conditions rarely come. Some days you wake up tired. Some days your mind feels heavy. Some days the world feels too loud, too stressful, too demanding. And in those moments, the easiest option is to quit or delay the work. But every time you choose comfort over commitment, you lose a small piece of your potential. Growth requires discomfort. Growth demands effort even when your feelings don't agree. The reason the tough days matter so much is because they reveal your discipline, your character, and your care and your resilience. When everything is going well, you don't need strength. You just need momentum. But when life hits you with stress, insecurity, fear, or doubt, that's when you discover your deeper layers. That's when you learn what you're truly capable of. The person who keeps showing up despite the struggle becomes mentally stronger, emotionally grounded, and more confident in their ability to handle pressure. The tough days become training sessions for the mind. Just like lifting heavy weights builds physical muscle, showing up on hard days builds inner muscle. When you push through that resistance, something powerful happens. You prove to yourself that you're stronger than your excuses. You prove that your commitment is bigger than your feelings. You prove that your future matters more than your temporary comfort. That self-proof changes the way you see yourself. You start believing that you can handle adversity. You stop doubting your abilities. You begin to trust your discipline more than your motivation. You become a person who doesn't run from hard days, but uses them to grow. Most people never reach their full potential because they stop whenever things get difficult. They see discomfort as a sign to quit. But discomfort is not a sign to quit. It's a sign that you're leveling up. Think of any area of life. When you work out, your muscles grow only when you push them past their comfort zone. When you study, your brain expands when you challenge yourself to learn new things. When you pursue a dream, the journey tests you so you can become strong enough to hold the success you're seeking. The tough days are not obstacles. They are necessary steps. Success doesn't come from doing big things once. It comes from doing small, difficult things repeatedly. Showing up when you're tired, focusing when you're stressed, pushing forward when you're unmotivated. These repeated acts of discipline create momentum that cannot be broken. You start building habits that operate even when your emotions fluctuate. You develop routines that keep you on track, even when life throws distractions, setbacks, or disappointments in your path. Every hard day you overcome becomes a brick in the foundation of your success. People often admire others who seem strong or consistent, but they forget that consistency is built in the trenches. It's built on days when nobody sees your effort, when you're battling your own thoughts, when you're forcing yourself to take one more step, even though you rather rest. The winners you look up to didn't become great because things were easy. They became great because they didn't allow difficulty to stop them. They understood that greatness is forged in adversity. There will be mornings when your body feels heavy and your mind feels foggy. There will be nights when your energy is drained. There will be moments when doubt whispers that you're not good enough, that the work is too hard, that your progress is too slow. But these moments are opportunities, not setbacks. They give you the chance to build discipline, to strengthen your willpower, and to develop grit. Every time you push back against those doubts and still show up, you weaken the power that excuses have over your life. And the beautiful thing is that once you start showing up on the tough day, you begin to realize something important. The tough days don't last, but the strength they give you does. You become more capable, more confident, more resilient. You stop fearing challenges because you've proven to yourself that you can handle them. The person who survives the tough day becomes unstoppable on the easy ones. Discipline builds character, resilience, and long-term results. So most people never understand how powerful that really is. So they're too focused on the short-term comfort of the moment. Character isn't built when everything is easy. Character is built when you choose to stay committed, even when everything around you tells you to stop. Every time you push through resistance, every time you show up when you don't feel like it, every time you do what's required rather than what feels good, you shape the kind of person you are becoming. Discipline is the tool that molds you, strengthens you, and prepares you for the challenges ahead. Motivation might help you start a journey, but discipline creates the version of you that can endure, grow, and win. You practice discipline, you teach yourself that you are in control of your actions, not your emotions. You learn that discomfort doesn't break you. You learn that pressure doesn't destroy you. You learn that setbacks aren't signals to quit, but opportunities to continue. Each day you stay disciplined. You add a layer to your character, a layer to your patience, a layer to your persistence. You become someone who does hard things. You become someone who can be trusted, both by others and by yourself. You build a reputation with yourself that says, when I commit, I follow through. That's real power, because the world respects consistency, not excuses. Resilience doesn't magically appear when life hits you. Resilience is built long before the storm comes. When you're disciplined, you're training your mind and body to push through adversity. You're teaching yourself how to deal with discomfort. You're learning how to operate under stress without falling apart. You're building a mental foundation strong enough to handle fear, doubt, frustration, and uncertainty. Most people crumble because they've never practiced staying strong when things get tough. But when you build discipline day after day, you don't collapse at the first sign of difficulty. You rise, you adjust, you keep going. Long-term results belong to the discipline because results take time. Anything meaningful in life, fitness, education, business, financial stability, skill mastery, requires patience and repeated effort. Discipline is what connects the dots between who you are today and who you want to be 5 years from now. Without discipline, you live in a cycle of starting and stopping, trying and giving up, dreaming and never executing. But with discipline, every action builds on the next. Every day becomes a brick in the foundation of your success. You begin to see progress not because of one big effort, but because of hundreds of small efforts compounded over time. People often underestimate how long success really takes. They want results today, tomorrow, next week. They want progress without sacrifice, outcomes without effort, transformation without consistency. But long-term results require you to show up on the days that are boring, the days that feel repetitive, the days that don't give you immediate rewards. Discipline gives you the patience to wait for the harvest while you continue planting seeds. Without discipline, impatience will ruin your dreams. With discipline, patience becomes your strength. Discipline also teaches you emotional control. When you stay disciplined, you stop reacting to everything. You stop letting small problems throw you off track. You stop letting frustration turn into failure. You stop making decisions based on purpose rather than emotion. That's one of the biggest parts of character, the ability to stay calm and focused while continuing to do what's necessary. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop chasing temporary excitement. You start valuing consistency and effort. You start understanding that the journey matters just as much as the destination. When you build a life around discipline, you don't just create success, you create identity. You become the kind of person who doesn't quit, the kind of person who doesn't run from challenges, the kind of person who keeps their promises, the kind of person who rises after failure. That identity is stronger than any obstacle you will ever face. It becomes your anchor in the storms of life. It becomes your defense against distractions. It becomes your motivation when motivation is nowhere to be found. And what's even more powerful is that discipline builds confidence, not the loud kind that needs attention, but the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you've done the work, knowing you didn't cut corners, knowing you earned your progress, knowing you can rely on yourself. Confidence built on discipline doesn't disappear when life gets hard. It grows, it strengthens, it carries you through. And the results, those long-term rewards, come naturally because discipline makes them inevitable. If you exercise every day, you'll get healthier. If you save and invest consistently, you'll build wealth. Stop waiting to feel inspired. Act even when emotions aren't there. This is one of the hardest lessons people must learn if they truly want to rise above average. Most individuals live their entire lives tied to their emotions like a puppet on string. If they feel good, they work. If they feel bad, they stop. If they feel excited, they start something new. If they feel tired, they quit that same thing they were excited about just days before. This emotional roller coaster becomes the reason so many dreams die early. People keep waiting for a wave of inspiration to wash over them before they do the work. But inspiration is unpredictable. It might show up once a week, once a month, or sometimes not at all. You cannot build a life of greatness on something so unreliable. Acting without inspiration is where champions separate themselves from everyone else. Champions understand that inspiration is not fuel. It's a luxury. They don't depend on feeling motivated to train, work, study, grind, or improve. They depend on their decisions, not their moves. They understand that the mind will always try to pull them toward comfort, and comfort rarely leads to success. Every time you choose action over emotion, you gain power. Every time you ignore the excuses your mind gives you, you get stronger. Every time you move forward, even though you feel nothing, you build a version of yourself that is capable of achieving anything. Most people misunderstand what inspiration actually is. They think it's the spark that starts the fire. But in reality, action is the spark. Once you take action, your brain begins to generate momentum. Your energy increases. Your focus sharpens. Your mood improves. You begin to feel inspired because you acted, not the other way around. Waiting for inspiration is like standing in front of a cold fireplace and begging it to produce heat before you put in the wood. It doesn't work like that. The fire starts only after you do your part. Learn to move without inspiration. Your life becomes predictable in the best way. You don't skip workouts anymore because you don't feel it. You don't delay your goals because your emotions are low. You don't lose progress because you're having an off day. Your behavior becomes steady and your results become steady. Instead of being a slave to how you feel in the moment, you become the master of your direction. You decide where you're going and you go there regardless of your emotional state. The world is full of people who had talent, but never activated it because they waited for the perfect feeling. They waited for clarity. They waited for motivation. They waited for a moment that never came. Meanwhile, the ones who showed up every day, uninspired, tired, stressed, but committed, rose above everyone else. Success is not about who feels the best. It's about who shows up the most. It's about who stays consistent long enough to see results. It's about who keeps putting one foot in front of the other, even when their mind screams at them to stop. Taking action without inspiration also teaches you discipline at a deeper level. It forces you to build routines, habits, and systems that operate no matter what's happening inside you. You learn that discipline is not about being strong every day. It's about showing up even on the days when you feel weak. You become someone who can be trusted with their own future. You no longer break promises to yourself because your emotions changed. You no longer abandon your goals because your energy dipped. You stick to the plan because the plan matters more than your momentary feeling. Another powerful thing happens when you stop waiting for inspiration. You eliminate procrastination. Procrastination thrives in the space between intention and emotion. It whispers, let's wait until we're in the right mood. Let's wait until we feel ready. Let's wait until we get motivated again. That waiting becomes weeks, months, and years. But when you act whether you feel ready or not, procrastination loses its power. You take away its favorite weapon, delay. You learn that readiness is a choice, not a feeling. Acting without inspiration also builds resilience. You discover that you can function even on your worst days. You learn that lack of motivation does not mean lack of ability. You learn that tired does not mean incapable. You learn that fear does not mean stop. You become someone who can push through difficulty, discomfort, distraction, and doubt. That resilience becomes the foundation of every success you experience. The truth is, inspiration will come and go, but your goals remain. Your dreams don't pause just because you're not in the mood. Your future doesn't wait for your emotions to recover. Every day you don't act is a day you lose. Every moment you let your feelings control you is a moment that moves you further away from the life you want. But every time you take action without inspiration,